Hey folks, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchist Ted.
Today we're talking about how to pick your 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons Dungeon Master. Before we jump into this video, let us thank our sponsors, Easy Roller Dice, for all your dice rolling needs. Whether it's your first set of dice or 1 millionth set of dice, Easy Roller Dice. Down in the description, you can find a link as well as a promo code to Easy Roller Dice and a monthly contest that we're running to win Easy Roller Dice products. Go get some Easy Roller Dice.
All right, so today we're going to talk about, picking your Dungeons & Dragons Dungeon Master. It's easy. Like, you go to the store and you're like, I want this one. Is that right?
Yeah, you put it in your car, go out to the checkout. Or, when we used to do it, it's like, there's like one guy... Not even. No, that's you. We have to work our way up to that point. It's like there was one guy in your neighborhood, and he was like the older kid, and like he would run Dungeons and Dragons. Hey kids, do you want to play some Dungeons and Dragons? And you're like, what's Dungeons and Dragons? It must be cool. He's an older kid. You find out like he's one of the dorks or nerds of the neighborhood, but that's okay because he's your people's. That's how it was for me anyway. Like there was. Steve, not the Steve, my original Dungeon Master, my first one, was significantly older than us. We would hang out sometimes with his kid sister. I actually dated her at one point, and he was significantly older than the rest of us, like 3-4 years at least. Okay. And he would sometimes like play sports with us and stuff. We did a lot of like backyard soccer and wiffle ball, and run the bases. So for us, he was always like cool, right? But now, like in retrospect, not really. Like he was the nerdy kid on the bus reading comic books and playing D&D, But he was a great guy. But he introduced us to Dungeons and Dragons because he like many of us needed a gaming group. Like it was hard to get people together to play, and especially kids his own age were doing teenager things, right? So he found us. We were like in our tweens at the time, or early teens, and he's like introduced us to sci-fi and fantasy and all these different games, and that like so we didn't pick a dungeon master.
Right.
Our dungeon master picked us. Like he went out and recruited players, and then after playing for a while, it would be like, hey, you could probably dungeon master too. I bet you'd be really good at it. Like, so that's how it kind of was when we first started playing. And I'm just gonna go out on a limb and guess that my experiences was probably common for my age group.
With me, I got involved, as I said, when I started playing when I was in Scouts. And I was like 13, 14 years old. So that's a little bit later than some of the other people that we've met. And it was just fellow Scouts that had shared it with me. And a lot of the people that I knew, like, okay, well, I'm friends. Like, you want to do this too? Sure, why not? And I had DMs that were older. There was actually, in my early days before you and I started gaming together, I actually had a DM who was younger than me, by a handful of years. And he just had a mindset that was good at, wrapping this whole story around. And he would describe these places. And it was something that I never thought, oh yeah, this is something that I really want to do. And after our group got together, like I was kind of thrust into the chair by you guys. You're like, look, tired of doing this, you get your turn. Because the games that I had run, they weren't like story driven. It was like literally the players did whatever they wanted because I didn't know how to control the narrative.
It was a different experience. So back then we wouldn't even think about picking our dungeon master, right? But now we can. Like there's lots of tools out there. There's lots of options. So what are some of the things we should be looking at for as players when we're looking for a dungeon master to run the game for us?
Well, you're gonna get into like what kind of game are you looking for? Are you wanting something that is like super mega serious? It's full of drama. Life is on the line at every moment. Or are you looking for something that's a little bit more lighthearted? Players have that plot armor. Like, there's all these things to really look at and weigh, because I know there's players out there that, especially new, that's like, I don't want this character to die. I want to know that we're telling a story together and this character is going to be there in the end.
Well, I don't know that those things are exclusive to each other, plot
That's
armor
true.
and lighthearted. Because let's face it, you can play a beer and pretzel game where show up, guys, and bring about 5 characters with you. Hopefully, we won't run through them all. You know, which could be, you know, if you're meat grinder, kind of lighthearted as well, but in a different way. So
Right.
you know, you have your beer and pretzels type game, which some people enjoy, and there's nothing wrong with it. Or you have the game where it's so serious. Me and my friends create freaking art. We don't just play a game. You know, so. It just runs the spectrum, and it really just depends what is it you're looking for in the game.
Well, I mean that's true, and that's going to extend a little bit further to like what happens at the table. Like I know that there are games that I've played in. Once we say go, like it's all in character. We only have so much time, so no out of game chatter. And there's other games where it's like this is the social element. This is like where we spend an hour when we get together that we're just gonna BS before we even say go. And before you know it, it's like, okay, well, I guess we might as well get started. We've been here for 90 minutes.
Exactly. And so you have to decide, right, when you guys show up to the table to play Dungeons and Dragons, you know, are you now like leaving the real world behind and you are no longer Ted or Dave, but you are Lothar of the Hill People, and you will only speak as Lothar of the Hill People. We will not break character for anything. There will be no crosstalk. There will be no dick jokes. We are just playing. You're living in these characters for this whole time. So they're two entirely different experiences, and neither one is better than the other. They're both valid. It just depends on what you want. So you don't want to get hooked up with a dungeon master that wants to tell Monty Python jokes for 4 hours when that's not what you want. When you want to be gaming the whole time. And you know the same thing would go true for the dungeon master. He doesn't want to be strapped with a player that's not going to be serious in his very serious game. So it's very important that you match up the right personality DM to the players.
Because ideally, if you're looking for a certain experience and that experience isn't there, it's going to take away from your experience. It's going to take away from everyone's experience. Because if you're sitting there stewing, whether you realize it or not, like your anger, your frustration is going to affect the table around you.
Well, absolutely. And, you know, why would you're going to invest time in this and getting to know these people and hang out with these people. Why would you want to do it in a way that isn't what you're really looking for? It's like you might get stuck, you know, with a certain DM because there's no one else around. But I feel like in this day and age, there's a lot of tools in our toolbox in order to find other people to play the game with. So that being said, not only that too, like you have things to look at like genre and setting, different themes. You know, what kind of campaign setting is this dungeon master going to be running? Do you want to play Forgotten Realms or Eberron or Dragonlance?
Do you want to play modern? Do you want to play sci-fi? Do you want to play fantasy? All of these things are vastly different than the other.
Right, or maybe you want a lot of different experiences. So finding a dungeon master or game master that has a lot of experience running a lot of different game systems, not just Dungeons and Dragons, but other things as well, that's going to be a huge benefit as well, if that's what you're looking for. But not so much if you only play 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons and you don't play anything else. Like, this is my game. There are no other games. I will never cheat on D&D. But you find a GM and he wants to switch up. We're going to do Pathfinder this week. We're going to Cypher System next week. We're going to do GURPS. You know, we're going to do Savage Worlds. So, you know, it's really important to find the right dungeon master for you.
But even once you found the right game, like, okay, these guys are only going to play 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, well, what about what they allow at the table? Like, we're dealing with characters restrictions, rules restrictions. Is this DM going to allow third-party material, and that's what you want? Or is it the other way around? Like, you want third-party material, and they're like, nope, if it's not AL legal, I don't touch it at my table. Like, that can be a make or break moment for a lot of players.
You know, some groups and DMs will have social contracts. If that's important to you, finding a DM that does that would make sense as well. There's also, like, do you want a lot of player agency in your D&D game? Or you're like, no, we don't play it that way. You know, so matching those things up. And then, you know, finally, one of the things you're going to want to look at is game style, in the sense, do you want to play a sandbox style game or more of a linear adventure, also known as the Railroad?
Right. Well, there's some players that they like to experience the plot that is put forward, and while they might offer this and offer that. They want to get on the ride and see what the DM has prepared. And that's okay. There's a lot of fun to be had in that, because then it's like, all right, I don't need to, push the narrative of the story. It's there for me, and I'm just gonna get in there and I'm gonna solve the problems. I'm gonna beat up the bad guys. Other characters, other players are more interested in that sandbox style where, all right, I can go do as I want. All right, you prepared this adventure and we're supposed to go right. Well, I'm gonna go left and explore what's over there. And the DM says, okay, off we go, and yeah, you're gonna have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, and both are valid play styles. It's whatever you enjoy, whatever your gaming group enjoys, and whatever that particular DM likes to run for the night, for the game. So, but it's really important to match up the right players to the right dungeon masters. It's not always easy. Sometimes it's some trial and error, but in this day and age, we keep saying this, but in this day and age, you can go online and find tons of different forums where people are running different games, and you have game masters to choose from. Or maybe you want to present yourself as a specific type of game master, and you could put up a thread in one of these forums so that other players can find that right GM for them, and it happens to be you.
So what do you do to find GMs? What kind of awesome stories do you have to share? Down in the description below, why don't you share those with us? While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
On your way down to dropping those comments, stop by the description where you can find those links to Easy Roller Dice.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.